Today is International Chef's Day, so we've cooked up a few of the best foodie-inspired cuisine stories, from the cheapest Michelin-star meal to the best snack food ever created. What's your favourite cuisine? Let us know in the comments below.
我得到米其林这个殊荣之后，我才知道小贩能够得到国际上的认同。我姓陈，叫汉明，52岁，我的职业是烧腊厨师。 在很多年前，我在一个偶然之下认识了一个香港叔伯来新加坡。那时候我跟着他学，那时候我觉得油鸡是一个很棒的食物，而且是在市场上比较少，所以我那时候我就觉得对它有兴趣，所以那时候开始研究这个油鸡啊。我的油鸡 是用南姜、蒜头、香料，还有我特选的材料，就是高级的香料，来配置做成这道油鸡的。我是由2009年开始做小贩，做了差不多7年多。 小贩里面的很多顾客，他们都喜欢去小贩中心用餐，因为各式各样的食谱都有，而且又便宜。我每天在小贩里面可以卖到100多只油鸡。那时候是米其林职员来我的小贩摊位来告诉我，我得到米其林小贩中心的殊荣。 觉得我是非常的荣幸，我也有一点怀疑这样啦，觉得很高兴的这种感受了。获奖之后，我也知道一切的都是由顾客给我的，所以我到那时候我决定从不涨价，在那个好客里面，到现在还是一样，我还是一样的价钱，没有涨价。 我得到米其林1星的殊荣之后，我的生意真的转变很大，因为人潮太多了。我就是希望给更多人欣赏我们这种米其林1星的油鸡。
This next story has a bit more crunch.
The creation of the potato chip is a rather snarky, surprising, and idiosyncratic story. When French fries made their way to America, they soon became a restaurant mainstay. Many restaurants served fries as their signature dish. Believe it or not, they were once considered very hoity-toity. In 1853, George Crumb was a chef at the Moon's Lake House in Saratoga Springs, New York. Their signature dish was none other than Moon's fried potatoes, or as the aristocrats would say, potatoes served in the French manner. One day, just like any other, a customer some believe to have been Cornelius Vanderbilt himself ordered fries. Upon being served, Cornelius scoffed and sent them back. He deemed the fries soggy and not crispy enough. This insanity continued a few more times, until Crumb lost it. I mean, he really lost it. He fired back, cutting the potatoes paper thin and frying them up. You see, back in 1853, eating with your hands was a major faux pas, making Crumb's revenge even more diabolical. By cutting the potatoes paper thin, there would be no way that Cornelius could use his fork, forcing him to use his hands. Crumb's plan backfired, kind of, as the patrons dug in with both hands and loved them. Saratoga chips were born. They became a Saratoga dining staple. Soon thereafter, they took the world by storm. Crumb himself even opened his own restaurant with baskets of chips displayed on each and every table.
It might take you a while to get to this restaurant.
Deep in the bayou, on this street, down this road, and this windowless tin shack is a restaurant run by one woman whose dishes are so good, you have to wait a year to try them.
I'm Elzinatu, and I've been cooking Cajun food for at least over 60 years.
Welcome to Alzina's, a Cajun restaurant with no staff and no menu. Just Chef Alzina and her kitchen, and it's housed in one of the most unassuming places, a former welding shop that was once owned by her son.
I turned this into a kitchen because I love cooking. And you don't have that big bump in the middle. Right. My son was in the process of moving to a bigger place. So instead of closing it, he asked me if I wanted to convert this, so I converted it into a kitchen. I want it to be open, where I cook and where they eat, because they can see what you're doing. Most of the people that come, they want to take part in what you're doing. Cajun food, I think it's the best food in the world. I was raised on it. To me, it's simple cooking. You start with your bell pepper, your onion, your garlic, a lot of garlic, celery, and then you saute that in a small amount of oil, and then you start adding your other ingredients, whatever you're cooking. If it's a gumbo or jambalaya or fried shrimp, what's better than that?
As good as that sounds, eating at Alzina's can be tricky. There are no walk-ins, and reservations can only be made by calling her on her landline phone.
Thank you for calling. I didn't want walk-in because I think I would have been very unhappy. I live a simple life, and this is the way I like my life. Simple. No computer, just a simple telephone. I'm booked up until next year. I'm always booked up in a year advance, and I like it better that way.
Over those 40 years, Alzina's has been pretty successful garnering the attention of magazines, politicians, and celebrity chefs. People from all over the world have flocked to Alzina's kitchen for her authentic Cajun food. But for Alzina, the experience is all about making people feel at home, like a family.
When people come, it's a tin building, so they say where we're at, and you don't realize that it's here. But when they step in the kitchen, it's a different world. I really think they're happy. I feel the peace in the kitchen, and then they mingle, family that haven't seen each other for maybe a year, 2, 3 years. It brings happiness to them, and it brings happiness to me. I was born to serve, not to be served.
Last but not least, the wartime chef.
You remember this can. The sweet sauce, the soft noodle. This was childhood. But did you know that Chef Boyardee was an actual chef? He was. His name was Hector, and he made a mean pasta sauce. But it wasn't Hector's sauce that made Chef Boyardee the household name that it is today. You can thank the US military for that. In the 1930s, Hector Boyardee opened up an Italian restaurant in Ohio, and everyone was like,
"Oh my God, I love your sauce."
So he started selling it, and he sold a lot of it. A lot. By 1938, he had opened up his own factory, selling his sauce and pasta canned.
Ask for Chef Boyardee's spaghetti dinner. Only about 15 cents a serving.
Then, World War II happened, and a phone call was made. The U.S. military called Hector and said something like,
"Help make food for the troops."
He already had the canning infrastructure, so Hector said,
"Yeah, all right."
His company shifted from a civilian consumer base to a military one. Chef Boyardee became the largest supplier of rations to U.S. and Allied forces. Production was happening 24/7. By the end of the war, the factory was too large, and the military demand no longer existed. Hector didn't know what to do. So he sold it to this large company called American Home Products, who were all like,
"We got this."
They quickly rebranded and distributed the can as easy-to-make at-home meals and filled supermarket shelves across the United States. So today, when we buy Chef Boyardee, we're actually eating rebranded World War II field rations. Yep.